What's good with it, YouTube, man? It's your boy Rojo, Convict's Perspective. Today, as you can tell, hey, hold on. I'm sliding, smashing, whipping and dipping with a real high fade, and I got a little bit of energy.
And a big
I'm
old
joined
no.
with Big Gunner from Gunner's Collective. You already know who he is. He needs no introduction.
Bang,
And
bang.
today, as you can tell by the title, Gunner was kind enough to take some time out of his day to help me talk about these Bulldogs, man, because he has way more interaction with them than me. And we found an article that it's just crazy. And we're going to elaborate on it a little bit, man. So what I'll do is I'll take it off, man. We'll knock out this little article, man. It's only from 2 days ago. It's real fresh. The title of it is The Convicted Calwa Killer Closer to Trial for Ordering Murder from Prison. Now, you say these Bulldogs, well, they're not organized, they're not this, they're not that. You say what you want. But this is from KFSN, Fresno, California. A convicted murderer sentenced to life imprisonment without parole is one step closer to a trial in a new case where he is accused of ordering murder from prison. Detectives discovered alleged crimes when a local multi-agency execution consortium, unofficially known as the MAGIC, M-A-G-E-C gang unit, installed wiretaps.
Yeah, the Magic Team.
Oh, they pronounced that magic. Got it. Yeah. They installed wiretaps to investigate murders in Karua, K-A-R-U-W-A. Mm-hmm. No one has been charged with the murder, but the recording pointed out several other criminal suspects. Jesse Aguilar is a killer. The jury admitted that he was guilty of the 2014 murder and sentenced to life imprisonment without the possibility of parole. However, investigators say he is still calling shots for the Karua gang using a phone smuggled into prison. They say he frequently contacted an individual identified as Juan Venegas. Juan Venegas passed on Aguilar's orders one after another. Earlier this year, detectives say Venice, received a new message from Aguilar, who didn't want to talk to a teenage gang member over the phone. Given the other things they wanted to talk on the phone, Venice and the teenagers wanted to talk on the phone, so those messages are very important or criminal. Now, I know this sounds funny, y'all, but I'm reading it word for word as it said. I couldn't talk on the phone because of that, said Ryan Getter, a CHP officer who was assigned to this magic unit. Investigators say Aguilar ordered retaliation against a member of the gang who had killed one of them without his permission. Now, you guys say Bulldogs can do whatever they want. Keep listening. Venice and teenagers talked about bringing a gun to a meeting in Karwa Park in early October to carry out Aguilar's wishes. The sheriff's agent sent a marked police car to the park that morning, which scared the gang members from using violence. Venice appeared in the park and was pulled when he ran the car. I apologize, y'all. Like I said, I'm reading it word for word. This is kind of interesting speech pattern. I found a non-serialized 9mm semi-automatic polymer 80 ghost gun pistol, said Fresno County Sheriff Detective Tyler Phillips. It was loaded with 17 unfired cartridges. His lawyer questioned whether the evidence proved a crime. Are there any signs that there was a corpse or someone was killed before leaving Karua Park? Lyndon Lindar asked. Not as far as I know, said Phillips. Aguilar and Venegas were charged with a plot to commit the murder, and the judge determined that there was sufficient evidence in pre-trial to bind them over for trial on Tuesday afternoon. They'll return to court again later this month. Now, that was a very poorly worded article that was rushed or whatever, but you guys get the general idea about what's going on.
Yeah.
Gunner, you know a little bit about this individual and his relations, man. So what do you got to input on that?
So the Calwa Bulldogs, man, it's one of the older cliques of Bulldogs. Okay. Calwa being its own city within the Fresno area. They're very respected, very well known, very been about the business for a long time, but they keep kind of that old school mentality. As you can see by the picture on the thumbnail of this guy, he still has the F-14 on the top of his head. So basically, a lot of these guys from Caldwell, man, are from the old school. Now, of course, they have a younger generation that's infused itself and, you know, being this Bulldog faction and doing what they do. But I will say that a lot of these guys got old school motives, they got old school mentalities, and they still have a hierarchy. You know, Caldwell is one of the only factions of the Perros that I would say function like that. You know, function whereas they have a big homie that pretty much calls the shots. See, you know, we always get told, man, you know, over time and the way we've been laced up that the Bulldogs, basically when they split apart from the NF, they decided to do their own thing. They would answer to nobody. They didn't want to be involved in politics. They didn't want to be involved in any type of system like that. That's not the case. Every clique is different within the Bulldog faction. Every gang is ran, you know, as they're one group faction, the Federals, but they're all ran individually, not all in accordance to one group's plan, but all into accordance of what each hood, you know, wants to implement. And this hood, Caldwell, basically goes by the old style. Now, this guy Aguilar, he's a heavy hitter. He's a heavy hitter. He's well known out there in the Fresno area, the Caldwell area, and he's about the business. You know, he actually picked up that murder in 2014 and got convicted on it, did that. But where a lot of the stories correlated, and I think I did a story on my channel just a few weeks back, man, where I talked about the Caldwell Bulldog mom that actually was buying pistols for her kids after she won this this grievance against the Fresno Police Department for killing her son. And of course, we talked about that, man. I said my spill on it, how I felt about it, how I felt that she was being targeted, and so on and so forth. But where the story correlates was her son that was killed was actually involved with the Aguilar guy. All this is interwoven where she was actually in a relationship with this man, you know. So it's just a trip how all this is happening to this family or this area after they get this money. You know, it's just a trip. Just a trip. Now, of course, they got tape recordings, and of course, more will come out. And I don't like to speak on ongoing investigations, so I'm not here to say whether the man did that or didn't do it. All I'm saying is that over the course of time, all these tape recordings will come out, and basically they feel that they have something on him to go forth with this trial. Now, I don't think it's going to hold no bearings onto his mind state because this man's a lifer anyways. If anything, it gets him a little bit of fresh air and a free bus ride, you know, to go check out Fresno County. But this Magic Group, and I also touched on this a long time ago in the beginning of my channel when I spoke on the Bulldogs. This Magic Group has had a hard-on for the Bulldogs for many years, bro. And it's Magic. It's misspelled. I don't know where that came from. It looked like it says, like you said, Magic, but it's Magic. And they've been going hard on Bulldogs, trying to take the Bulldogs out of the city of Fresno for many, many years. You know, it starts with their the ex-chief of police, Jerry Dyer, and his mission to eradicate the Bulldogs from the area. You know, of course, like I said, man, in certain group factions, this is not what's going to ever happen. Okay, Bulldogs ain't going nowhere, Holmes. They're established. They're there. There's several cliques. There's a lot of youngsters that are true believers. People like the way they wiggle. I myself have a lot of friends that are active Bulldogs that I highly respect. I like their get down, you know. I'm not going to push their agenda or not push their agenda, but I will say, man, I like the way that they move. But I just thought it was a story that to be touched on because not only is it making headlines in the Fresno area, because a lot of these guys respect Caldwell Bulldogs and they know of this individual, you know, Mr. Aguilar, but also because I think it correlates with the story of the mother, man, that was buying the guns and whoop-de-wop-de-whoop. It just all correlates. If you sit back on the outside looking in, I like that song, On the Outside. If you sit back looking at that, you can see from a mile away, man, something just ain't right. Seems like they have a bone to pick with this one gang caliber for one reason or another. I don't know. Let's hear what you got to say on it, Ro.
Hey, you know, we talked about this before, man. As soon as the mother, the woman, filed that lawsuit, and once it started looking like she had action at winning, they opened up a grip of investigations. You know, whether she was doing the thing she's accused of or not, who knows? Maybe not. But the thing is we could almost call it retaliatory. But hey, the lady could have been messing up the whole time, and that's just part of what's going on. You never know. But I'll tell you what, winning that money, while it's a blessing, it was also a curse because now they're mad. Now they're like, oh, well, you've been participating in this shit for all these years, and now you're going to backdoor kind of a way to get paid. man, you know, they weren't happy about that. So, man, that all that did was enrage every person who already had a beef, you know, in law enforcement to go after that group twice as hard. Be like, oh, okay, you're going to use taxpayer dollars that you won and this and that to further the interests of your gang, according to allegations, right? And, you know, man, you're not going to win, bro. Like me and you said, she should have took that money, got the F out of Fresno ASAP, and went out about her life somewhere else where she's not a target, where she doesn't have people with lingering animosity toward her, her family, her alleged involvement in any kind of criminal gang, right? Now, since we're talking about Calwa, there was another thing that really piqued my interest, bro. And it's another story. It's from YourCentralValley.com. And it's the arrest of a homicide suspect leads to 14 Calwa gang members arrested. And this is only from a month ago. So why I bring this up is it's going to be really curious how they try to tie it in with the OG that's currently being accused of orchestration of whatever sort. This woman and Calwa, because Calwa is getting heat right now. All these articles and all the stuff we're talking about has only transpired just in the last little bit of time. You know, so here we go. Fresno, an 18-year-old Calwa gang member was arrested for the murder of 52-year-old Javier Fernandez, leading to more than a dozen other arrests. Fresno County Sheriff Margaret Mims, along with District Attorney Lisa Smitkamp, spoke on the gang and its activity during a press conference on Friday. The homicide happened July 9th when Fernandez was shot and killed near his Malaga home. The 3-month investigation into Fernandez's murder ended with the arrest of 14 people believed to be Calwa gang members. These are killers and their children, and they're being told what to do by sophisticated criminals. That's what stood out about me when you showed me about the OG. Fernandez, who was described as a loving father and grandfather, was shot multiple times in broad daylight. Detectives were able to identify the suspect vehicle, which they later found burned. After releasing surveillance pictures, public tips pointed to an 18-year-old Richard Aguilar's house, where he was taken into custody after a police standoff. During the investigation, a total of 14 locations were searched and over a dozen guns were seized. Our investigation was very important because it did result in peripheral arrest, which means our hope is we're stopping potential violent crime from happening, Mims said. Among those arrested was 42-year-old Cristina Lopez. She is the mother of 16-year-old Isaiah Murrieta Golding, a murder suspect who was shot and killed by police in 2017. The city has since paid Lopez out millions of dollars in settlement money, which Smitkamp says she's been using to buy guns for her 14-year-old son and other teen gang members. As a mother and a prosecutor and a citizen of this county for my entire life, this is some of the most despicable behavior I've seen from a human being, Smitkamp said. Mims said 47-year-old Jesse Aguilar was also a notable arrest. He was already serving a life sentence for a 2014 homicide and has been allegedly directing young teen gang members to commit murders from behind bars. Investigators are still evaluating the gun seized to see if they might have been linked to other crimes. The sheriff's office is looking to speak with anyone who may have additional information about this investigation. So you see, like I was saying, how this is all going to tie in. There it is.
Yeah, I mean, see how it all correlates.
Destroy them.
Yeah, and what it is it's just like when we're in prison. And one of the rules and regulations is no fraternizing with the canine. And main reason being that we don't want to shine that spotlight on the homies. You don't want to get their attention. You want to stay under the radar, fly as low under the radar as you can so you can conduct your business, get in and get on and get out, right? And what happened is when this lady filed this lawsuit, it seems that all spotlights got put on that hood. Okay, so they're looking for any reason to cancel out everyone involved, or they think that was involved with her or her circumstances. That's just what it seems like. I mean, anyone could use their common sense and put two and two together. The articles pretty much lay it out right there. You know, that this man was in a relationship with this Christina Lopez. They got him. He's already caught up on a prior murder. Now they're making him look like, of course, he's the big bad shot caller. They're trying to cancel her out. They're canceling her sons out. Everyone that's involved. It just seems like retaliation or targeting. I could be wrong. That's what it looks like to me.
Yeah, no doubt, man. If I would have seen when this first came out about this woman who was accused of being a gang mother, whatever they're trying to label her as, you know, either factually or falsely, I don't know. But however they're trying to lay it out, I could have told you from the beginning when she went, as soon the minute that the jury, judge, whoever was, you know, going over that civil trial, as soon as she was awarded a victory in that, it was over for her and anyone she knew. You know what I mean? If she's already accused and is may or may not have already been linked to things and whatever, they're bringing every, you know, resource they have to be like, okay, you got that one, but watch this. They're going to one up it. They can't take the money away now. Well, they might could if they decide it was used for legal reasons. They might be able to. I don't really know the laws on that, man. But
well, if they could prove that she was using it to benefit an organization, you know, I'm sure the feds could get involved and put a freeze on that.
Yeah, I know.
But no one knows. You know, we don't know. We don't know the details. I'm sure more is going to come out over time on this, and that's why I thought it was an interesting article, and that's why it was brought to my attention by a couple homeboys, and that's why I thought we should touch on it, because it just seems like there's more than just one thing. It's all these little different stories that are all starting to blend together, and you know, it's not hard to figure out.
Right, no doubt. And what I was saying about the Bulldogs not having no leadership, it all depends on how you look at it. You know what I mean? If you look at it from do they have like written this and written that? Probably not. You know what I mean? But the way, well, let's just call them gangs. You know what I mean? That's what the system will refer to them as. I'm not calling them nothing, but we'll make that in layman's terms. Gangs are going to have a hierarchy. There's always going to be an alpha male, an OG, somebody who's a little more sophisticated in the things that group's trying to accomplish, that's going to be looked to for advice. That's just the nature of gangs, and it's always been like that. It'll always be like that. There's no changing it. You know, it's the same thing as a company. A company has people in positions who they feel are best able to perform, you know, the duties of that position. Yeah. Same thing with the gang, bro. It's no different. There's going to be people in places that you're going to seek advice from, whether you have to or not, out of respect, because you don't want the person looked up to most within your group to look at you like an idiot. So you're going to come to him for advice. Is that an official chain of command? No, not at all. But it's just the way things are, and the things probably will always be. I don't see it changing because I understand human behavior. You know, so while they might not have mandatory obligations in some form or fashion behind the walls, on the streets, or whatever, there's always going to be some sort of a hierarchy, an OG, an advisor, and this and that. And I say this because the criminal justice system is still going to go after that person in the same fashion they would if you had a extremely organized structure. It's not going to be no different. When you're a criminal group, their first attempt is always going to be to cut the head off the snake. Now, whether it's by written law or not, or just by influence, they're going to go after certain individuals, their primary targets, who they believe assert some kind of control or influence over the group as a whole. Yeah. I know that was a mouthful, but that's real talk.
And just to kind of piggyback off that, basically what Rojo's saying is where in the past they picked at you, they don't. Now they go straight for the head of the snake, the top, and work their way down. And that's what it seems like they're doing. They knew that this individual has major influence, or he was thought of to have influence within this faction or this hood or gang or whatever you want to call it. And they're basically working their way down. They're going to start at the top, hoping that everything would crumble. Now, of course, you know, being in that life for so long, we know that that's not the way it works out. There's always someone to jump right in the mix. There's always a buffer. But for those that think that the Bulldogs are not an organized group, you don't get on, you're not staying established this long in the game without some form and fashion of organization. You know, like the homie said, there might not be a written out constitution or a written out bylaws or things of that nature, but these guys still have big homeboys. They have OGs, people that have done a lot of prison time that are looked up to, and their word is adhered to. You know, they're maybe not taking directives straight up from this person, but they're highly encouraged to do certain activities. And being that they have a lot of respect for this individual who's been around the block for a long time, they're going to respect it and run with it. And that's pretty much how it's going.
And I'll tell you why real quick for those of you who might not have any sort of understanding of criminal activities and law enforcement tactics. The reason they go for the head of the snake is because they figure to get the people most involved and most sophisticated off the streets immediately will cause the rest to fall into chaos, making it their job easier because these people aren't as organized or intelligent and they'll make way more obvious mistakes. So they get the smart people who they feel are smart, in charge of things, you know, clandestine, etc. They get them first. Everybody else will fall into shambles and they'll just be able to pick them off without a lot of investigative work.
No.
Straight
it's
up.
all about work smarter, not harder.
Yep.
You know, at the end of the day.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, no doubt. Hey, what do they say? Measure twice and cut once in construction. Same thing in every aspect of life, bro.
You know, like I always say on my channel, man, they're the cops, we're the robbers. Their job is to catch us. Our job is to outwit them. Whoever does their job better that day is going to be the winner. Just understand that these guys are fully dedicated to their job and they don't stop. So you can't
have a lot of resources that, I mean, there's only a couple groups in the world that can match resources. Cartels, you know, because of the extreme volume of income that they possess and are able to buy. And, you know, your average person, average group, average gang, you can't rival the resources that they have to bust you in order to get away. The scales, they don't match. You know what I'm saying? So that's the lesson for today, is just remember, they'll never stop. They have the financial backing, the technological backing, the backing of the majority of the United States. You know what I mean? The more majorities against crime, they're against violence. You know, they got to do what their constituents and taxpayers tell them, and they're not going to stop. And they hold grudges, as you can see here.
Oh yeah,
they hold a grudge, just like you would if somebody got over on you. They're going to want to get their get back, and they're doing it right now. They're trying. Anyway, that's a little bit about the Calwa Bulldogs and what they got going on, and law enforcement's all-out assault on them right now. And we'll be back at you later. Me and Gunn will be live later on tonight at some point in time. Have a good one, YouTube. Enjoy the rest of your Thursday.